In what is best characterized as a historic outburst within the confines of South Africa's parliament, Helen Zille, the DA's influential figurehead, stood up and delivered an acetone call to action that left the entire House reeling. Her statement, "President Sir Ramaphosa must resign immediately," rang through the hall like a thunderclap, surprising even veteran politicians, and gas rose through the chamber as she ripped through layers of accusation, naming what she called a pattern of corruption, deceit, and abuse of power during Ramaphosa's rule. This was not opposition politics, this was a call to war, and Zille's voice was ablaze as she stood up against the ruling party, her words unshaken and her belief unmistakable, as she did not beat about the bush. "This presidency has become a liability to the nation. South Africans deserve integrity, not illusion. We cannot move forward while dragging the weight of corruption behind us." She drew on recent scandals, global embarrassments, financial mismanagement, and the piling evidence of Ramaphosa's involvement in dubious offshore deals, each thrown with precise accusation and each point striking like a hammer on a questionable foundation. "The presidency is ethically bankrupt," Zille declared, "and polite patience must stop," and her address, broadcast live on several platforms, lit a firestorm online as within minutes clips of her evisceration were zipping around the internet at light speed, and within hours social media feeds were filled with hashtags such as #ZilleVersusRamaphosa and #ResignIna, transforming a parliamentary address into a viral national phenomenon. What astounded most onlookers, however, was not only Zille's indignation but the thunderous silence of the ANC benches, for as she enumerated step by step the constitutional abuses and executive blunders of the ruling cabinet, few were brave enough to intervene, and the traditionally boisterous governing party, accustomed to jeering opposition, appeared dazed, confused, and unable to come up with a good defense. For a party that has been in power in South Africa for almost 3 decades, the spectacle of their stunned silence was unprecedented, and the internal cracks in the ANC, long rumored behind closed doors, were suddenly out in the open as dissent at public level grew more vocal. Legal probes loomed over leading names, and even senior ANC old guards started to disassociate themselves with Ramaphosa. Zille exploited that weakness with surgical precision. For weeks ahead of the showdown, the DA had been secretly building a file of reports and testimonies of Ramaphosa's supposed abuse of executive power and non-disclosure of key foreign dealings, waiting patiently for the optimum moment to attack, and today's parliament sitting turned out to be the backdrop for a political ambush like nothing in years. In Zille's view, such discoveries confirm a president not just compromised but captured, and she charged him with subverting transparency, breaking parliamentary trust, and employing state institutions to serve as a personal and political shield, with the icing on the cake being a just leaked memo supposedly recording Ramaphosa's offshore investments and unspecified financial transactions, a discovery whose confirmation could rattle the very core of presidential integrity. The gravitas of her words did more than shake the governing party, it created shockwaves within the nation, for everyday South Africans already reeling from economic struggles, high unemployment, and a cost of living crisis felt that the notion their leader might have offshore deals hidden from view was yet another betrayal, and the burning question on everyone's lips now is, what if Ramaphosa really does step down? Who replaces him? What is to become of the ANC's future? The DA was blunt that the next move needs to be an inquiry in full, a prosecution of any wrongdoing, and a national re-election to rebuild public trust, and Zille reiterated that anything less would constitute a betrayal of the democratic value South Africans had fought so hard to win. But the ANC is not going to go quietly into the night. Factions within the party might try to advance one of their own to the top, but in light of such public humiliation, even that might prove insufficient to soothe the tempest, as rumors spread that certain party members are already busy positioning themselves to run in a leadership challenge and others are discreetly forging alliances beyond their usual foundation, meaning South Africa may be embarking on one of the most pivotal political shifts since the beginning of democracy in 1994, and judging by the scenes in Parliament today, that shift has already begun. For several years now, Helen Zille was dismissed by so many as a political anachronism, an echo of a past generation of opposition politics, but on this day she reminded the country and her competitors that she once again has the passion, the facts, and the clout to upset the political establishment. This was no DA performance, this was a political reckoning, and Zille represented every South African calling for accountability, a symbol of the increasing anger among citizens who feel betrayed by their leadership, as her message addressed not only the shortcomings of one presidency but spoke to a greater hope for honesty and rejuvenation in South African politics. Her final statement has already become a rallying call on social media: no more secrets. No more corruption. No more Ramaphosa. Simple in statement but powerful, for some capturing years of exasperation at unfulfilled promises, a stagnating economy, and a government too often obsessed with palace politics rather than the aspirations of its citizens. Predictably, the ANC hurried to do damage control, with Ramaphosa's spokesperson making a statement denouncing Zille's remarks as political drama and unfounded accusations, claiming that her address was an opportunistic move to gain political mileage before next year's polls. But the more details are leaked and the more ANC insiders start distancing themselves from the president, those denials are sounding more and more hollow, as behind-the-scenes rumors of resignations in the pipeline, furtive meetings among top party leaders, and frantic attempts to pivot the narrative swirl, with even reports that Ramaphosa's strongest backers are quietly wondering if he can ride out the crisis. The cracks are deepening and the heart of ANC authority no longer appears solid. But none of these maneuvers are able to stifle the voice that echoed through Parliament today, or millions of South Africans who have been inspired to make their voices heard. The proceedings of this day have fired up a nation, making what could have been another political squabble a moment of destiny for South Africa's democracy. And if you need live updates as this political saga plays out, subscribe to this channel now and enable notifications. Time is of the essence in times like these. Share this video, leave your comments below and be heard, because South Africa is at a turning point and you are a part of the dialogue that will determine its future. Until next time, stay sharp, stay bold, and never settle for silence when the truth demands a voice.